Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with the story in which our OP foiled a deal for a dishonest property manager. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Don't want to respond to my maintenance requests? Okay. So I've been leasing a 400 square foot apartment inside of an old house for the past 8 months. The utilities are combined for the house, and I'm responsible for 30% of them. The other tenants are hippies and have very few electronics, so I thought I was getting a good deal. When I received my first utility bill for $180, I knew there was a problem. I'd been in other apartments, so I knew they weren't running a grow or anything like that, legal here, and I checked all the usual culprits. Everything looked fine. So I put in a maintenance request, and another big utility bill came in. So I talked to the property manager directly. Another big bill comes in. Still no attempt or even to get an electrician out. So another maintenance request, and nothing. This cycle has been repeating itself for the 8 months I've lived here with no resolution. Every in-person attempt to get help was met with a sly little grin from Mr. Manager, who would always inform me that he only manages the property, aka collects my money, and every maintenance request lost or ignored. But that's okay, because I knew this slimy bee-turd would get his someday, and that day came today. I found a new place, so I put in my notice, and they've started scheduling walkthroughs with new potential renters. Today, the manager shows up with such a person, and I made sure that I was close by to carpe the effing diem. After they were done looking at the apartment, they started walking out. I showed them the door, but stayed in the doorway. The potential renter asked Mr. Manager how much utilities on the place were. Mr. Manager started blowing smoke, but I cut him off with, about a couple hundred per month. I saw panic creeping into Mr. Manager's face. Got you, F-boy. The potential renter said, really? Why is it so high? I looked the manager directly in the eyes and said, no idea. Why don't you ask Mr. Manager here? I've been trying to get him to fix it for 8 months. Potential renter thanked me, got in his car without acknowledging Mr. Manager, and left. Mr. Manager was bright red at this point, and I could tell he was pretty pissed. He looked like he was about to say something to me, but before he could, I just winked at him and shut the door. They'll get this place rented out after I leave, but as long as I'm here, I'm going to make sure that I am present for every single viewing, and I'm going to make sure the potential renters are well informed. And our second story. You want me to include our boss in all work-related communications with you? I work in a health clinic where I'm a practitioner and the office manager. We're a small clinic and generally pretty close-knit. It's my job to organize all kinds of things, including any social events for our staff. It was coming up to Christmas, and we'd done the usual staff party, but because we'd had a particularly busy year and worked hard, I decided it'd be nice to organize a night away with a dinner and show. How wrong I was. Enter our cast. Me, boss lady, and drunk staff. There were more people, of course, but these are the key people you need to know. I want everyone to relax and have a good time, so I nominate myself as the designated driver and pick up a few people on our way to the hotel. The evening starts with a few casual drinks and nibbles at the hotel before we head out for a night of entertainment. So far, everyone is behaving well and generally having a good time. We're in good spirits and treated well as we're escorted to a VIP area to mingle with other guests until the show is ready. We meet a few people we don't know and get on well with them, so I order them a couple of drinks with our next round. Next round, they offer to return the favor, and just before I can say thanks, drunk staff says, "Let him. He can afford it. He's rich." Boss lady and I were pretty taken aback by this comment, but tried to not draw too much attention to what was said. They buy the drinks, and drunk staff grabs one before anyone else and then swipes 2 more before everyone else had even been given theirs. Boss lady and I choose to forfeit our drinks because of this, which didn't bother me too much since I was driving later anyway. I had a quiet word with drunk staff and cautioned her to slow down and pace herself as we had a long night ahead. Eventually, we were shown through to the restaurant and seated ready for the show. Drunk staff continues to order drinks and for the most part seems to be holding up okay. Boss lady wanders off to the bathroom before the show, and our first course is served while she's up. Everyone starts except for me as I wait for my special order. As I wait, I smell something weird that I thought might have some kind of strong blue cheese or similar into it. I'm sniffing around trying to find the source as Boss Lady comes back to our table. It's at this point that we notice drunk staff was throwing up. Yikes. I go into damage control and try to clean things up as quickly and unobtrusively as possible while Boss Lady takes drunk staff to the bathroom to get cleaned up. Unfortunately, I wasn't quick enough and the venue staff asked our entire party to leave. We get it, we're guilty by association, so nobody argues, except for drunk staff. She argues to the point of having security called to escort us out, dropping her belongings as she goes. She's a mess, and I pick up her purse and try to encourage her to walk out with us. Big mistake. After a few choice words and accusing me of stealing her purse, drunk staff takes a swing at me and clocks me fair in the jaw. She's a big girl and has a bit of power in that arm of hers. I'm stunned for a moment, then walk off, leaving security to handle her. She's out of control and starts yelling, "Come back and I'll hit you again." Yeah, pretty classy. Anyway, she was so unruly that security called the police and she wasn't allowed to leave until they'd taken her statement. As it wasn't considered an emergency, we were advised that it could be a few hours until they arrived, but that I could leave if I was happy to leave details, so I did. It was obvious to me that my very presence was aggravating to her, so I saw no point in staying. A few staff came with me while others went off and did their own thing. Eventually, I get a call from the police who ask me if I want to press charges. I let them know that I didn't, but I want her spoken to and for there to be a record of what happened. They were cool with that and told me that she was saying she's quitting her job. I asked them to let her know that I accepted her resignation effective immediately and that I'd email her regarding pay and collection of personal effects. I wanted a paper trail. Boss Lady and I were pretty upset over everything that happened and ended up taking a long walk on the beach to talk things over. We decided that we would show her some grace and allow her to keep her job if she apologized, under the understanding that she was now under probation, which is exactly what ended up happening. So I drew up the appropriate paperwork, official warning, probation, etc., which the three of us signed. Boss Lady and I thought that would be it, and that we could all move on and work professionally with us, until the next evening. She had taken home her work phone, which was against company policy. It had been requested several times prior that she leave it at the office each evening, but she seemed to think she could just get away with ignoring a direct instruction. Boss Lady has implemented this rule long before I started at the company, and it was my job to ensure things like this were carried out. Boss Lady was aware drunk staff was taking the phone home and asked me to sort it out. This led to me verbally reminding drunk staff to leave her phone at the end of the day. However, just after she left for the day, 5 p.m. on the clock watching dot, I noticed she'd taken the phone home again. I sent her a text at 5:04 p.m. that said something along the lines, "Hey DS, just a reminder to please leave your phone at the office at the end of each day. Thanks." Well, she flipped out because I was messaging her late at night and harassing her. She was literally still in the car park. I let Boss Lady know what had happened and sent her a screenshot. While I was doing this, DA had created a group chat between the three of us, asking me to keep all work-related communication with her in the thread. No problem. So the next day, she was 15 minutes late. I sent her a message in the group chat asking if she was okay and still coming in. When she was chasing Pokemon during work hours, I addressed this with her in the group chat. Extra time for lunch break, group chat. Rude to patients, group chat. Asking her to return the item she'd borrowed without permission, group chat. Following up on the piles of work she hadn't done because she was spending hours each day on her personal phone, group chat. Bad attitude when dealing with staff and clients alike, group chat. Inappropriate clothing to work, group chat. Needless to say, that probation period wasn't seen to its completion. She tried suing us for wrongful dismissal, but it was dropped pretty quickly when assault of a colleague and insubordination was brought up. And our last story. The money was never for you. So my ex moves away and has a kid. The boy turns out to be mine. I had to have a DNA test to be sure because she's certainly not to be trusted. I tried to work it out with her, but when she realized I wasn't going to fall into her trap and marry her, she terminates my parental rights under threat of legal action if I don't comply. This was odd because she could have come after me for child support, but instead cut me out completely. Dumb move, but I wasn't going to argue with her. Anyway, she relocates again a few years later on the other side of the country, and my son is around 7 by this time. I really wanted him to grow up in a house as opposed to an apartment with stable neighbors and safe open spaces, etc. His momster, despite having never missed a paycheck in her entire life, is always broke. She always spends a little more than she makes, no matter how much she makes. She's been a tenured university professor for well over a decade, earning nearly $70K annually, and has never even had $500 in savings. So I put up the entire 20% down payment so she can purchase a nice home near her university job. No interest or payments, just secured with a junior security deed for the principal down payment only. Great home, great neighborhood. Time marches on. My son is now 19, has moved out, and declared that he'd rather live on the streets than ever move back into her house. Great, because several years ago she refinanced her mortgage to get a lower interest rate, but didn't resubordinate my junior security deed. This means my note is now in first position. I've requested my money back, and based on the terms of the documents she signed all those years ago, she has to cash me out. She'll have to refinance the house to get that done, but I don't care. Now I can make those dollars available to him in case he wants to go to school or invest in his own property or business. She's having to not only cash me out, but cover my attorney fees too. It's been a long time coming, but the karma train is finally pulling into the station. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.